Contrary to popular belief, I wasn't always the guy who spends his free time writing essays on characters he likes when not many other people even think about characters in a favorite of all time context like I do. This character right here is the one that showed me just how special characters can be, and one that I have held as one of my favorites for the longest time. While they may not have cracked the top 3, they are still held in very high regard by me. That character is Midna from The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess. Midna is one of the many helper characters in the Legend of Zelda series, but she stands out in how much of a big personality she is, as well as having her own goals that aren't immediately made clear. She's no Navi, who only existed to give exposition and invent Z-targeting. Midna is a key player in the story and in the gameplay as well, with many obstacles being insurmountable without her assistance. With Link being silent as usual, Midna is practically a main character in her own right. When Link first encounters Midna in the game, she's quite intentionally written to be kinda insufferable. She belittles Link, treating him like her pet, more so slave, taking advantage of their mutual interests and his helplessness in this situation to force him into her bidding. She is rude, manipulative, and literally could not care less about Link's problems, and more importantly, all of Hyrule's problems as well. With Hyrule recently overcome with monsters and covered in an oppressive twilight that turns everyone into helpless spirits, Midna's one acknowledgement of the overall plight is snarking, I mean, is perpetual twilight really all that bad? She really shows no empathy towards anyone in spite of the dire situation, and it's all because she's worrying too much about herself and taking down the Twilight King Zant. This is the front she puts on for the majority of the game's first 3 dungeons, but over time she does begin to mellow out. While it's never outright stated, she is constantly watching Link's adventure from his shadow, even when she's not overtly present. So she got to see his full displays of courage in protecting his friends and Hyrule itself, as well as the courage of many of Hyrule's denizens. By the time that Link finishes with helping her get all of the fused shadows she needed, she actually apologizes for putting him through all of this. It's difficult to understand the first time playing through, but clearly watching Link's efforts to help others endeared him to Midna. Immediately after this is one of the hardest sequences I personally have ever had to watch in a game, Midna's Lament. After obtaining the last fused shadow, it takes no time for Zant to show up, steal all of them, and assault her with more light than her Twilight Imp body can handle, putting her in a near-death state. Throughout this time, she goes in and out of consciousness, with Wolf-Link's back nearly becoming her deathbed as he tries to take her to Princess Zelda. Yet another display of bravery for Midna to watch. With all that Link had been put through by her, and the fact that he had his own problems to worry about in him being transformed into a wolf once again, he still cared for her enough to search for a means to save her. When Link finally takes her to Princess Zelda, whom she had met before but insulted like she did all others, Zelda makes the ultimate sacrifice for Midna and gives up a part of her own soul to save her. With Midna's apathy towards all of Hyrule, such selfless acts on Link and Zelda's parts were completely beyond her comprehension. From this point on, with the sacrifices of these heroes in her mind, she puts forth a much greater amount of compassion for Hyrule. Previously, Zant had mentioned to Midna how the people of Hyrule had oppressed their race, and he wasn't entirely wrong. Long ago, the Twilight were simply humans of a tribe who, for their use of dark magic, were all sent to the Twilight Realm ages ago to live in exile from the light. Given tales passed down through the people of the Twilight Realm, it makes complete sense for Midna to have no trust in these people. However, her experiences with Link show her that they are not bad people at all, even if their coexistence was an impossibility. She grew from having a complete apathy towards all Hyruleans to caring about their plight and wanting to help Link not just for her own benefit, but for all of Hyrule as well. Even still, she was never selfish and had every reason to want to take down Zant, for what he did to her, as well as all of the Twilight. Midna's true identity is that of the titular Twilight Princess. She was said to be a kind ruler who cared for her people, which made it all too crushing when Zant, practically a petty man-child who served in the royal household thinking he would be the next king and not Midna, usurped the throne and turned all of Midna's subjects into mindless shadow beasts, and Midna herself into the imp that we see her as. Her manipulation of Link is once again contextualized, as she felt as though she had to do this for the sake of her people. Midna is one of the few examples of a character who manages to provide proper justification for their rude behavior early on, but still acknowledge how unkind they were, and change for the better. This brings us to the final stretch of the game, where after defeating Zant but realizing that Ganondorf was the one responsible all along, Midna continues to help Link even though she got what she wanted already. Granted, she had a hunch that her true form would finally return after defeating Ganondorf, but she does not state this as her primary motive at all. Her motive is now mainly to end the chaos caused by Zant and Ganondorf and help Link save Zelda, a true testament to her developed selflessness. Especially when during the final battle, she returns the favor to Zelda and Link by sacrificing her life to help in the fight, which notably has the silent Link quite obviously enraged, showing the bond they developed wordlessly. After Ganondorf is put down for good, though, the Light Spirits use their power to allow Midna a second chance as a token of her selflessness, bravery, and heroism, and she got her true form back as well. With her life restored, Midna still had to make one last sacrifice. Realizing that all of this came about from the interactions between the evil forces of Hyrule and the Twilight Realm, Midna deduced that she couldn't take the risk of something like this threatening both worlds again. And with her power as the Twilight Princess, with a single tear and a farewell, she shatters the one gate linking the two worlds. She knew she would miss Link, whom she had bonded with so much, and that he would miss her as well. But as a princess, she had to make the hard choice for not just her world, but Hyrule as well. Watching the rude imp evolve into the mature princess she was always meant to be, with the emotional maturity to care for not just one, but two kingdoms over her own personal interests, it was inspiring to me when I first played Twilight Princess nearly a decade ago, and it still strikes a chord with me today.